Welcome to the LATAM MedTech Leaders Podcast, a conversation with leaders who have succeeded or plan to succeed in Latin America. Please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, etc. Today, our guest is Javier Pastor, Vice President and General Manager for Mexico and Central America at Elekta, a leader in precision radiation medicine. Javier is head for all Mexico and Central America with full P&L responsibility and has been nominated for the CEO Leader of the Year award. Before Elekta, Javier was Senior Commercial Operations Manager for Mexico. He led the commercial operations team in the region to achieve operational excellence and sales targets. He holds an MBA from the University of Texas and a bachelor's degree from the Tech of Monterrey, Mexico, which is one of the best universities in Latin America. So Javier, it's great to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julio, and thanks for inviting me. Pleasure
Awesome.
to be here.
Excellent, Javier. All right, let's get started. So Javier, please tell us your story in regards to how you got to Elekta today, your professional journey to where you are, and then we're going to get into details about Latin America.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a funny story how I ended up in the healthcare world. When I started, studying engineering, throughout the years, I had it clear that I wanted to work for one of the top companies in the world, right? To go in and to start learning and planning my career within one of these companies. When I was well advanced in my studies on engineering, I went to study abroad to Sydney, Australia for 6 months for a semester.
Nice.
And when I was about to come back, I told myself, okay, it's time to start looking for a job, right? So, and even if I was not done with my career, my industrial engineering career, for me, it was time to start looking to gain some professional experience in this sense. So came back to Mexico, started, for me, it was clear, and I can't really explain why, but I was targeting either GE or Procter & Gamble, right?
Wow, so, big ambitions.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew it was ambitious, but in the end, I found an opportunity as a trainee within GE Healthcare, actually. Okay, so it was GE. I was not even probably aware about the dimension of GE Healthcare at the time being.
Very few people are.
Exactly, because you mentioned GE and it's oil and gas and aircraft engines and all that stuff. But then, I mean, I started my interview process in the GE Healthcare world, and I was fascinated by it. At the time being, GE Healthcare was, I would say, a small company in the country, starting to grow with a few employees, and that's basically how I started in that area. It was a fantastic journey, an 11-year journey in which I started as a trainee, and I saw the company growing and growing and growing and having success. It had a lot of opportunities to work not only in Mexico, but with Central and South America as well, and in different areas, right, related to sales, service, finance, operations. Mainly service and operations was my background back at GE, but I had fantastic leaders, fantastic managers, and without a question, I mean, it was quite an adventure. That's how I ended up on the healthcare world.
Fantastic, great. Was it GE that purchased a distributor in Mexico, or
no,
was
no,
the
no.
other
Actually,
company?
it was GE as a direct presence in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, no, GE has in Mexico, a huge operation, and since, I mean, several years ago, they have a huge presence in Mexico. Everything from manufacturing to sales to service, all business lines. And when I started at healthcare was probably one of the small businesses from GE in Mexico, with very high potential. So, I mean, actually, a lot of people wanted to join G Healthcare, and there was not a lot of opportunity since it was just starting and growing. And in that sense, we were driving the diagnostic imaging business in Mexico, and for the life care solutions business and ultrasound business, yes, we had some distributors, but throughout this journey, we did an integration of the different business lines and actually started operating everything direct in Mexico. So I saw that complete journey. And probably when I started back at GE, I think we were probably no more than 40 employees or something like that. And when I left GE Healthcare Mexico, probably we were around the 220, right? So yeah, it was a very nice experience. And in that process of integrating the businesses and reaching the agreements with the distributors to start doing things direct, we of course went throughout all that regulatory journey to be able to start selling and commercializing the products in the country. So gained a lot of experience in terms of maybe it's not that GE was brand new, GE Healthcare in the country, but yes, integrating these business lines into the business, it was like starting from zero. So it was a very nice experience in that sense. And I had the opportunity to drive the project management office for that integration
Wow.
of the different business lines. Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, Julio, it was a very nice experience.
Great, Javier. All right, so let's talk about Elekta. How you got involved with Elekta after GE?
Yeah. Okay. So after 11 years at GE and continuing that journey, I was one day sitting at my office as a sales operations senior manager for GE Healthcare, and I was driving a complex and big team going from inquiry to order process, to order to remittance, to site management, to project managers, and planning absolutely everything, since there was a customer getting ready to place an order till the product was properly installed, trained on, and diagnosing patients. Okay, so after that, I received one of those calls, and you know, and it was my former manager telling me, do you know or you have heard about linear accelerators and Elekta? And I said yes. I mean, and I have heard of that because back at GE we had one of the devices that it's needed throughout the chain of cancer treatment, which is a CT simulator. And so, of course, I have heard about linear accelerators, and I basically knew that there were two main companies in the world that were doing these kind of systems. And basically what they told us is, we have a distributor in Mexico. We believe that there's huge potential. And what do you think about coming on board and helping us, finish that acquisition process and starting
That's the
operations?
acquisition process that I remember in our
Yeah,
conversation before the
exactly.
podcast. Yeah,
That acquisition process and starting operations in Mexico. And
I see.
yeah,
Wow, what
and
an experience!
it was an experience. And after that interview, which was at a very nice hotel in Mexico City, not even at an office, right? And
Yeah.
I flew to Atlanta, in which our America's headquarters are located. And I went through a bunch of probably 10 to 12 different interviews in a couple of
Really?
days.
Wow, in a couple of days.
In a couple of days, yeah, from the president to the CFO to the compliance manager to the quality manager to the regulatory
Yeah.
manager. So
Wow.
I guess they were looking for someone a little bit well-rounded in terms of
Yes, exactly.
understanding a little bit of everything and all that it's needed to start and operations from medical devices perspective in a Latin American country like
Exactly.
Mexico, right?
Yeah, and
So
with a great command of the English language, which is not something very common in Latin America.
that's correct.
You speak English perfectly. I mean, so it's quite
Thank
an
you.
asset. Yeah. So and Elekta is from where originally? Somewhere in Europe, right?
Sweden. It's
Sweden.
a Swedish
Okay.
company. Yeah,
Okay.
like this is a Swedish company, and we are part of the Nordic stock exchange market. It's a public company and basically focused on cancer treatment with radiation systems
Okay.
and all the software and applications that go around it, and to properly manage treatments and to properly manage radiation therapy and oncology departments at
Fantastic.
hospitals.
I'm so
Mhm.
happy to hear that a company like Elekta is doing business in Latin America, so patients have access to these innovative treatments and technologies. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I said, I mean, absolutely, it's fantastic. And coming from the diagnostic imaging world and now into the treatment world, I mean,
Treatment. Yeah.
it's quite a change, a fantastic change, because I mean, here you're treating patients with cancer. Once they start a treatment,
Yeah.
they cannot stop the treatment. So
Yeah.
service is super important, and it has been a fantastic journey and experience. And yes, Elekta decided to bet on a country like ours and others in Latin America as well, with a direct operation, and that's something we're very proud about. I mean, the level of growth that we have been sustaining since early beginnings as of today. I mean, we have basically tripled the number of devices out there in the last
Wow.
3 years, and the access to cancer treatment with radiation therapy. It's just very different to what it was in Mexico before Elekta was direct.
Impressive. Wow, that's great to hear. Okay. And
Yes.
Elekta has presence where in Latin America?
We have in all of Latin America. The direct markets are Mexico and Brazil. Colombia is kind of a hybrid, but the rest of Latin America throughout distributors.
Okay, I see. All right. So let's talk a little bit about trends that you see happening in Latin America, Javier, that are relevant to our discussion today. Any disease trends, any population trends, any political, economical trends that you see that are beneficial for companies like Elekta to do more business in Latin America?
No, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the trends that we are seeing and are well known, I mean, the population is getting older, and unfortunately, you know, this lifestyle that we have, which is, you know, everything is very fast, very stressful, a lot of
Yes,
hours
they're
in the office.
Americanized, unfortunately.
Yes, and that it's quite hectic, and sometimes, you know, we forget about exercising, about relaxing for a little bit, and eating properly. So I mean, uh, in terms of diseases and tendencies, definitely we cannot say that diseases are going down, right? Or these trends are going down, or that cancer is going down, right? So unfortunately, we see it more and more, and we see more the need for technologies like ours and and other complementary technologies in terms of cancer diagnostics and treating and giving feedback to the complete system. It's absolutely growing. It's absolutely growing, and it's a very interesting mix in Latin America, because you have these diseases trending up, and then naturally in countries like ours, you have these big deficit on the amount of systems and technologies that are
Yeah.
needed
Hmm.
to treat these patients, right? So
Options for patients.
exactly, options for patients. So today, I mean, it's very sad, but the reality in markets like ours is that people actually die waiting for a space to receive
Yeah.
or a slot to receive a treatment of this kind, right? So in a very few words, I mean, the opportunity is there. I mean, the opportunity is there. I believe it's the way you are able um, to sort out the market needs, and even with costly technologies like ours, which require a lot of R&D, a lot of service, a lot of support. How do you figure out that fit and within the market needs and the art technology, and how you make it accessible and also
Yeah.
profitable for the company?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I guess the one of the things that make Mexico stand out in the world is its prevalence of diabetes. Right, it's one of the top countries in the world with in diabetes. Is that correct? Is that something that I read a
Yes,
few years ago?
yes.
Is
I
still
mean,
there?
that is
Yeah,
correct. I mean, diabetes and obesity,
obesity.
child
Yeah,
obesity and child
exactly.
obesity, which
Yes,
is so sad. But yes, Mexico is one of the top countries that is trending in these kind of diseases, cardiovascular diseases,
yeah,
cancer. Unfortunately, so is this mix that we see and that you unfortunately see in these kind of of countries in which unfortunately not all the population has access to even very basic levels of education, and so there's a lot of ignorance in terms of how harmful things can be for
yes,
you and for your body, right?
exactly. Yeah,
So I mean, absolutely, I can say that. I mean, we as a whole, with Mexicans, uh, we don't tend to take a lot of care for ourselves, right? So, I mean,
wow.
yeah, we love food. We love getting together with a family,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so
And
so so yeah,
and tacos are evil. Tacos
tacos are
are
evil.
too good. I mean, is and so
Exactly,
cheap. I'm
exactly.
feeling so it's impossible to say no
Exactly,
to
and
a
that's
taco on
that's
the
kind of
street.
the food that it's super cheap and that most of the Mexicans eat. Yeah, I mean, it can have serious consequences
Totally.
if you don't watch out, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, but absolutely. I mean, diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, and a lot of obesity with children are factors that are absolutely trending in this sense.
Okay. All right. So let's get down to more tactical matters in terms of regulatory affairs, importation, some tips or stories that you may share with us that will help other companies learn from your experience, Javier, and not make the same mistakes or adopt best practices. So let's talk about Mexico as a place to do business, and the other countries too in your region, Central America. um, what is it that it makes Mexico an attractive place to sell medical technologies? Is the regulatory process straightforward? Is it difficult? What do we need to know about that?
Yes, I mean it's a mix, and I'm going to start with Mexico because
Okay.
in terms of regulations, I would say that without a question, I mean the region that I manage, Mexico and Central America down to Panama, without a question, Mexico is the more heavily regulated country.
Yes. Mhm.
And moreover, on an industry like ours, in which we are regulated by the COFEPRIS,
Yes.
the Ministry
Mhm.
of Health, we are regulated also by the Nuclear Commission, right? Given the radiation of our
Oh,
systems.
yes. You have two regulatory
I have
bodies.
two,
Wow.
yes, and two quite tough ones. So I'm going to talk first about the COFEPRIS, and my main advice in this sense is if you're starting an operation in the country, you have to make sure that you're choosing the right person in country
Yes.
that has some level of knowledge and expertise on how to get products registered in the country, okay,
Yeah.
and that knows the coffee breeze, and that knows that it's a lot of work, and that it's time consuming, and that it takes time for sure. And there are some fast tracks, legal fast tracks into that process that you need to know, like the third authorized parties, in which
Yes.
in
Yeah.
which you can fast track your process a little bit. Or there are some other processes like the FDA equivalents,
Yes.
that you can use it. You can use FDA to fast track your registration process a little bit. But in the end, you need to have someone in country that has a level of expertise. Either if it's for a new company hiring someone, or using a third party with the knowledge that it's needed. Because in my opinion, yes, it's time consuming. Yes, it takes time. The authorities take a lot of time to put your registration out there. But the heaviest thing is to get your information together in the right way, to get your dossier ready in the right way, all the
Yeah.
documents needed from your factory, your manufacturing centers, your IESOs. So I believe that it's really a matter of expertise. A lot of people would think that it's impossible. It costs a lot of money. And no, actually, that's not the case. You just need to know the process. You need to know how to do it. And I can say that yes, I mean there's a lot of qualified individuals out there in terms of regulatory processes for medical devices that can make your life easier. In the other hand, for instance, we are part of the AMID, which is an association of the medical devices manufacturers industry in the country.
Oh,
We're,
great.
we're yeah, we're a set of around 30 to 35 companies that we all work together in terms of regulatory legislation, and we see the pain points, where the gaps are, and
Sure.
together as an
Yeah.
industry, even if
Mhm.
we're competitors, we go with the authorities,
Exactly.
and we try to make things easier and better. So I mean, talking about the COFEPRIS and getting the products registered, it's a task. It's time consuming. You need expertise, but it's absolutely doable. I mean, and that's why companies like ours and the most
Exactly.
relevant companies out there, like I'm going to say GE, but also Philips, Siemens, Medtronic, Draeger. I mean, all of them, they have direct presence here, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
and you can maybe start with a distributor that clears the path a little bit for you, or or but my main comment is, I mean, don't be afraid of starting an operation directly. I mean, you have qualified individuals out there, and the process, it's complex, but it's not impossible. And if you know how to do it and you do things right, I mean, it's only a natural process. I wouldn't
Okay.
dare to say that COFEPRIS is more complex than FDA, for example. I mean, I think it
Yeah, I don't
has.
think so. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So if you're able to start an operation in the US, certainly you're going to be able to start an operation in country in Mexico. And I'm talking about the most heavily regulated country in the region that I'm managing. Then you have the Nuclear Commission, which that one, everybody says that one is impossible. I mean, you're
Really.
never going to be able to do it. Guess what? I mean, yes, you're able to do it. It's not impossible. You just need someone that understands the Nuclear Commission, their concerns. What are they, taking care of? Because you're handling, radiation, and it's natural
Yes.
to be,
Exactly.
heavily regulated. You're bringing in cobalt sources, iridium sources,
Yeah.
and you're actually irradiating people.
Yeah.
So, uh, in that example, for instance, one of our first hires at Elekta was our radiation safety
Oh,
officer
really?
office, and he's of course a medical physicist who has worked in companies, but also in hospitals and with the Nuclear Commission. So
Okay. Hmm.
once again, the tip and advice there is, you need to know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You need to understand the authorities' concern, and you have to do things right and do it right the first way. The first time you submit, do it right, and you
Exactly.
are not going to have any issues.
And get the right
So
expertise on board.
yeah, you
Yeah.
need the right expertise, and you can find the right expertise here.
Sure. All right. Let's talk about the other countries. Let's name them: Guatemala, Nicaragua, Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica, and Panama. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Belize is out of the territory, or is it?
We don't have a important business
Yeah, that's
in
what I
Belize.
imagined. That's what I didn't.
Yes, but in the
Name.
rest of the countries, in every single one, we have been able to generate successful business. You wouldn't believe, but for instance, in El Salvador, in the past 3 years, we have installed two linear accelerators and soon to have a gamma knife, which is our state-of-the-art system
Wow.
for radiosurgery for brain disorders and brain metastases and
Wow.
that kind of diseases. So, I mean, again, you're talking about complex devices, you're talking about importing cobalt sources. The business is there; it's absolutely there. We have been doing business with governments and with private entities. In terms of regulation, I would say that most of these countries are. It's less of a process and a struggle to get your products registered. In that sense, it's also not a huge market. I mean, you have very nice opportunities and profitable opportunities every now and then, and you have to be ready and you have to be present for when those opportunities arise. But basically, the way we handle that is throughout a distributor, and this
Sure.
distributor is also handling distributions for other medical devices companies. So it makes sense for them because they have a wider portfolio and a
Yes.
wide range of products, and of course we support them with all the information they need in terms of a regulatory documentation. But they are the experts. So once again,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
are in country, and our distributor, they have local expertise in even if they are located in Panama, they have small offices in the rest of the countries with local
Sure.
people, local regulatory managers in each country. And once again, I mean, it's not too complex. The formula is to have the expertise in country for
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Okay. And who holds a registration in those countries? Elekta corporate through a third party, or you let the distributor hold the registration?
In Central America, we let the distributor hold the registrations. Normally, in order to be able to import systems like ours, you need to have, of course, a legal entity
Yeah.
where you are located, and then have a registration. So if we wanted to hold those registrations, we would need to have a legal presence in
Yes.
the country. So it
Exactly.
doesn't make a lot of sense. What we
Agree.
have decided is we had a few distributors in Central America. Given the size of the market, we'd say, no, let's have only one distributor. Let's focus on that distributor. Let's help them
Oh.
grow. So we have been investing heavily along with them to have the operation that we have today. But we also trust them big time. Okay,
Yeah.
so they without a question, they are our partners, and you can reach some level of agreement. I mean, for instance, I'm not saying that that's the way we do it, but what you can do if you're planning to start operations with a distributor, you can say, okay, I'm going to allow you to have the registrations. I'm going to
Yeah.
provide you with all the information for the registrations. But if it comes the time that I want a direct presence, we should agree beforehand that you're gonna do a session of rights of that registration
Exactly.
into
Yeah.
my name, right? So
Exactly.
everything
For
has a
X
solution.
amount of dollars, or for
Yes,
zero, for whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and you can actually, I mean, yeah, you can value the amount of work that it requires, how much it actually costs with the authorities
Yeah.
to get the registration, and how much business this is being able to give you. And
Yeah.
yes, maybe we can set a given figure since the beginning. We can
Yeah.
assess once a year, but those are things that, I mean, a lot of companies tend to see, tend to do the, I'm not gonna fully trust my partner down there. I don't want them having my registrations. I mean, you need to have a partner that you can trust on. that you can have that confidence and that you are working together to have a successful business with. If you don't trust your distributor, I mean, you're screwed since day one,
Exactly,
right?
because you need to do a great due diligence process before choosing a distributor, because it's not difficult. It's not easy. It's a chess game. So if you
Yes.
do your due diligence right, then you are going to be in a position to trust your distributor because you did your homework before. It's not like somebody you met at a trade show, you shake hands and had a couple of beers, and now that's your new distributor in Guatemala or Nicaragua. So it's
You need to do your due diligence
yeah,
correctly. You have to go down there. You have to sit down. You have to
exactly,
understand their operation. You have to
yeah,
get not only your due diligence in terms of documents and financials and get them audited. I think it's also a matter of a field. I mean,
I
go
feel
down there,
yes, exactly,
spend a few days with them, get to know them.
yeah,
How did they start their company?
yeah,
And the other part, which I believe it's very important, and you see it a lot. And I mean, sometimes it's always like the big, huge company, and it seems like the big, huge company is against the distributor, right? I mean, like it seems that some of these companies have the secret and perfect formula to make a distributor go bankrupt, right? So yeah,
well
and it
said.
happens, and it
Very smart
happens.
comment. Yeah,
So once
yeah,
you start building that relationship with your distributor and seeing that this is beneficial for both, and you start working in terms, if you grow, I grow. If I grow, you grow,
yeah,
and it's a win-and-win situation. Of course, there's always going to be complex conversations
yeah.
but in the end, a friendly relationship, an understandable relationship, and knowing that yes, your distributor has to invest and put money and risk on the table, but you're always going to be the company with the deep pockets, and that's not going to
Yeah,
change. So you
exactly.
really have to understand how to leverage that, right? And be as fair as possible with your distributor.
Yeah, because at the end, he's really a partner. It's a
Yes.
partnership agreement. It's not a sales agreement where they're just a buyer of your
Yes.
products. So that's how, unfortunately, many companies see them, just a buyer.
Yes,
So,
and we actually do spend time with them in these countries. I mean, it's not that we manage everything from this desk I'm sitting
yeah,
on right now.
yeah, yeah,
We go down, our teams interact. We sit down with them and with the customers. We want the customers to feel that yes, there is a distributor, but there is no reason whatsoever why you can't pick up the phone and call me, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
and that's the way we have been working, and it pays off.
Okay. Another question. We're close to the end of the show, Javier, but I'm sure listeners are questioning this. Is it easy to find one distributor for Central America? I know it's impossible to find one distributor that covers the whole Mexican territory. It's a huge country. You may need what, three, four, five, perhaps, to cover the main cities. But in Central America, would it be easier just to have one distributor that covers the whole region, or is it difficult?
I guess the answer depends a little bit on your product line, right? At Elekta, we have these big, massive systems, right? For instance, if I go back at G and you're talking about anesthesia machines or
Yeah,
respiratory devices, which now we have been globally been using a lot,
yeah,
it's different because of the level of capillarity that you need, right? I mean, probably if you're talking about linear accelerators on a country of these dimensions, you're talking about, let's say, I don't know, 15, 20 systems, right? In a
mm,
big in one of the biggest
yeah,
countries. If you're talking about and of course, we have the smaller stuff. But if you're talking about these kind of devices, such as anesthesia machines and ultrasounds, for instance, in which
yeah,
you have to go, to the gynecologist office and touch
yeah,
base every single door,
yeah.
it's quite different, and the channels are very different. But in general terms, I can tell you that that for Central America, it's very easy to find a distributor that can handle all of Central
Oh,
America.
okay, okay, okay.
That's
Mhm.
absolutely a no-brainer. It's
Yeah,
what we do, and it's what a lot of the maybe not to say a lot of names and not to talk on their behalf, But that's how the major medical devices companies are doing it in
Okay,
Central America.
that's what I
They have
imagine.
one distributor. Maybe it has different names in different countries.
Okay,
But
but it's the
it's the
same
same.
owner. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the same owner. It's the same company. It's the same partner.
Yeah. All
In
right.
Mexico, I can tell you that also, I mean, it depends. If you're talking medical devices, if you're talking pharma, if you're talking about different kind of medical devices and the capillarity that you need to approach your market. But in Mexico, without a question, you're going to be able to find the monsters, the distributors that are monsters. Multi-million-dollar companies doing business in the country. Sometimes even invoicing much more than a company with a global
Like the
company
manufacturer.
with direct presence in the country.
Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes, I mean, I have built relationships with distributors that actually are bigger companies than us in the country. Of course, not globally, but in the country, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the whole portfolio to pick from, and once again, I come back to saying, take the time to calm down, to talk to the
Yeah.
different options, do your due diligence, get a feel. But the options are out there. You're gonna find these distributors, and you might go with the approach of saying, my product needs 2 or 3 different distributors, like North,
Yes.
Central, South, or my product requires one guy, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but it's going back to the ease of getting these started and doing and starting to get going with the business in Mexico or in Central America. The expertise is there. It's not super expensive expertise. The access to credits and financial resources is there. And I mean, the distributors, talking about distributors, there's a very wide range of distributors to
Okay.
get you started.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess, Javier, the reason why is probably relatively easy to find one distributor that can handle the whole Central American region, except for Mexico, of course, is because these countries are so small and so close together in a small area that they need to expand. If I'm in Nicaragua, I want to go to Salvador and
Yes.
Guatemala to Honduras to sell because the population is no more than 3, 4, 5 million people in each. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the reason, and the reason is, I always see it, right. Like in this industry, healthcare, it's always, I mean, kind of a small circle of people that are managing this industry on a given country,
Yeah.
like ours, right. I mean,
Yeah.
even in Mexico, I mean, it's not thousands of people managing
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
core of
You can name the
this industry.
players.
Exactly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you go down. I mean, you have healthcare, then you go down into radiation therapy, like us,
Yeah.
and the group starts making small
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
small and
Yeah.
small. So,
Yeah.
it's not rocket science what you need to get again the capillarity you need for your
Mhm.
product.
Yeah.
So yes, and everyone from here to Panama, everyone knows each other. I mean, the doctors know each other, the users, the physicists, the everybody knows everybody. So it's not that tough. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. In South America is different because countries are larger. Colombia,
Yes.
50 million people. Venezuela, almost
Exactly.
52. Brazil, Argentina. So it's
So
more
that's
spread out.
that's
Yeah.
that that's common. Sometimes you see
Yeah.
like Argentina and Chile, maybe you have the same distributor
Yeah.
for
Exactly.
both
Yes.
countries.
Once in a
But
while, you
yes,
see that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you're not going to have the same distributor in Colombia than for Argentina or Chile
Exactly.
because of the size of the countries, the size of the population, but also the amount of time that it takes to get on an airplane and go from I mean,
Yes.
from
Yeah.
Colombia to Chile or
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
also the differences in culture, because
yes,
from the American standpoint, European standpoint, all these countries are the same. But when you get down to the
very
basics,
different.
very different. Yeah.
Yeah, you sit it down. I mean, one Colombian, one Mexican, one Brazilian,
Yeah.
and one Argentinian, and I mean, it's even hard for us to kind of get along at some points, right? A lot of
Exactly.
egos down here.
Yes,
So
yes, yes. A lot of soccer history, a lot of fights
a
about
lot of
soccer.
soccer history.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Javier, we're close to the end of the show. What would be your final words of wisdom if you had the CEO of a American European company sitting in front of you, that he's just or she is just looking at Latin America as a place to do business? What would you say to him or her?
I would say, I mean, it's as in the rest of the world, opening a company and starting operations, it's a challenge. It's tough. It takes time. It takes money. It takes dedication. But it's not impossible. Even in the so-called emerging markets like ours, in which there are parts that work all right, parts that tend to be kind of a disaster and don't work the same as in developed countries. I mean, there's in Latin America, I would say there's a lot of potential for business, and there's some ease of doing business and starting an operation ready. You need qualified individuals. You need individuals with expertise, and you have to be ready to make those investments in people that are going to set up your business and set the foundations.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to do that and invest properly, mainly in your team and in your people, don't do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's my piece of advice. I mean, this is the people that are going to set the foundations, that are going to take care of the reputation of the company.
Yes.
So be ready to find the best in what they do, and be ready to compensate them accordingly. That's my advice in this sense.
Excellent, Javier. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It was a delightful conversation, and I'm sure listeners got a lot out of it. So have a great
Thank you,
day.
Julio.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.